Hey, let me check in with Less is Lost by Andrew Sean Greer, the follow up to Less, about Arthur Less. In the first book, he traveled across the world, basically trying to escape himself, escape his 50th birthday, escape his one true love getting married to somebody else. And, well, in this book, he is off on another thing. This time, he's about to lose the house that he thought he had from his first lover, the poet the poet Robert. But it turns out he doesn't. They have to pay a bunch of back taxes, rent, but then they would get the house. And so he's accepted a whole bunch of engagements all across, not the world this time, but across America. And this book, I have to say, feels it's the footnote that comes from the second book. It's one of those books you go, oh, there was a sequel, and it's not like it's a bad book, but it just doesn't have what you feel like is the urgency of the first book. It feels very much like a little bit of an afterthought. I'm unless it's I haven't I've got half an hour left. If there's something that like kind of draws it together at the end here, um, and suddenly it jumps up, that then boy, it'll be worth than me just having had this pause here, because at this point I'm sort of like, yeah, it's less, and it's less kind of going through less stuff. It doesn't feel as quite as funny as the first, though it's got its moments. There's a less doppelganger, a black less, who we find out in these final sections here that he's actually been scooping up all this guy's offers. He's been mistaken for him multiple times, and they gotten confused. I'm not mistaken, but gotten confused about exactly which Arthur Less they were getting. And this black Arthur Less is the far more successful. Um, Shira. There's a whole thing with an HHH, who is apparently a kind of maybe a bit of a takeoff on George R. R. Martin. I don't know. He's just your giant kind of eccentric um, writer of more popular fiction. There's more very kind of light stuff on him being on a prize jury, but that's very much a subplot this time. It's not the thing that it was of him being the bad gay in the first one. It's got a lot of echoes in it. It's just the whole book is very echoey. Um, and also the narrator of this book is the same as the last one, but the narrator there wasn't very present in the story, and wasn't um, manifest in a way. So it was very, you could kind of accept that this is a narrator that would be kind of an omniscient narrator, not omnipotent, but omniscient narrator. Whereas in this one, where the narrator is far more present and is a part of the story and is physically there, well, then it's like, well, how do you know all this stuff? And it's a little less. I buy it a little less. It seems more awkward here than it did in the other book. But, Andrew Sean Greer is a really good writer, very smooth, elegant writer, um, with very much the kind of the wry sense of humor. But yeah, yeah, I just think this book is not necessary in the end of the day. It feels like, in a way that the first book felt necessary, felt like, oh, the author has something to say. This is more, and another thing, which is like, we didn't really need the next thing. It feels like. Maybe I'll be surprised with the last half an hour, though. All right, I will leave it there for videos later.